Well guys, I'm in a bit of a conundrum. I wanted to start to film and then this happened. But, all right Henry, off you go bear. So welcome to class. This is a mixed level flow class. We're gonna be doing a little bit of back bending. Make sure you have at least one block, and if you don't have a block, grab a prop like a book or like even a water bottle or something like that. All right, so we're gonna start with a block underneath the shoulder blades. If you have two blocks, you can set up a second block that's gonna go underneath your head. You could also use a cushion or something like that instead. If you have no blocks, lie flat on your back and you can take your arms up over and hold opposite elbows. All right, so set yourself up. Get nice and comfy. Make any little adjustments that you need. And let's go ahead and take an inhale through the nose. And an open mouth exhale. Again, inhale. And exhale. And then close your mouth and breathe in and out through your nose. And as you get comfortable here on your mat, just notice any feelings or sensations that might be coming up for you. Maybe it's things that have happened throughout your week or your day. Maybe you're noticing how your body feels on a physical level. Whatever it might be, whatever is coming up for you, just notice that, acknowledge it, and then see if you can detach yourself from the drama of it. And that's not to say that it magically disappears or that life gets easier, but for these next, I don't know, about 60 minutes, can you really stay focused on your body and your breath? Being committed to your practice. Feel the rise and fall of your belly with each inhale and every exhale. If there's anywhere in your body that you feel like you're really gripping or holding onto tension, can you soften that space? Feel free to stay exactly as you are, particularly if you are just on your back. If you have a block underneath the shoulder blades, you could add this on. You could bend your knees. You could remove the block or prop that's underneath your head and then interlace your hands behind your head. And we'll just take about 5 rounds of this. You'll allow yourself to melt over the block. And as you exhale, you'll curl yourself up, almost like you were doing a little mini crunch. We'll just do 4 more. So getting into the upper back. Perhaps noticing with each round that you're able to go a little further back. Last 2. And then wherever you are, remove any remaining props underneath you, and we'll come to lie on our backs. Hug your knees into your chest, give yourself a nice squeeze. You could circle out through the hips a couple of times, point and flex your feet. You guys know the drill, whatever feels good. Take your arms out wide, palms down, knees stay together, and you're gonna stack your knees on top of the hips. Now try to keep both shoulder blades pressing down into the mat, pull your navel back towards your spine, and then take your knees over to the left, any amount. They might come all the way down to the floor, but I don't want the right shoulder to lift.
And then you'll come back through center and you'll take the knees to the other side. And you're just gonna move from side to side like this. So think less of this about your core, even though I know we are doing some work into the obliques. And just focus more on the movement through your torso as we work into the upper back. You might find that as you continue to do this, it gets a little bit easier. Maybe you feel that stickiness that might be around the thoracic spine just start to melt away. We'll do one more each side. Next time you come all the way back through center, bring your feet down to the floor, separating them hips width distance apart. Bring your arms down alongside you. Now press your lower back into the floor and feel your tailbone start to curl towards the back of your knees. Keep this shape so we're posteriorly tilting the pelvis. Keep this shape, press down into your feet and lift your hips up. Maybe wriggle the shoulder blades underneath you a little. Squeeze your butt a little bit at the top, and then we're gonna lower the hips back down. They barely touch the floor and we drive them back up. And again, just find your own pace here, lifting and lowering. Really working into the hips, the glutes. Try to keep that posterior tilt of the pelvis the whole time. You might even start to feel that posterior chain of your body, so the whole back body starting to warm up, starting to get a little bit of heat into the body. And the next time the hips are lifted, you're gonna hold them there. Walk your feet a little closer together and then extend your right leg out. So it's not towards the ceiling, it's more on a diagonal, and squeeze your inner thighs together. Just 3 times, we're gonna lower the hips down and then drive them back up. 4, 2, last one. Rebend the right knee, right foot down, extend the left leg, 3 times, hips to the floor, and lift. 4, 2, last one. Rebend the left knee, lower everything back down. Take a happy baby pose, holding onto the outer edges of your feet. You could rock from side to side. Maybe you want to work to straighten one leg and then the other. Try to keep your hips down, tailbone lengthening forwards, stretching out through your hips. And draw your knees all the way back together. Hug them into your chest. Take a couple of little rocks up and down the length of your mat. And if you don't like doing this, if it doesn't feel good on your body, you can roll to one side. And then we'll cross the ankles over and come into our tabletop position. So go ahead and move your blocks towards the top of the mat. And then we'll bring the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. As you inhale, drop belly, lift your sternum, lift your sitting bones, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. Press the floor away from you and round. Again, inhale through cow. Exhale, cat. Maybe closing down your eyes as you can continue to move through these shapes. If you wish to add on hip circles or some wrist stretches, whatever feels good here in your body. You know, there are moments in practice where we're quite specific and then moments where we don't need to be so specific. So this is one of those moments, like a little bit of free time, just moving around. Maybe your eyes are closed. And then as and when you're ready, downward facing dog, lifting the hips up and back. Depending on your day, if you've already done a lot of movement, you might be happy to come straight into stillness. If that's not the case, feel free to pedal out through the feet. Do all the little things that you need to do. We're really spreading the fingers, pressing down firmly through the finger pads, the finger knuckles. Firming your forearms away from the mat and then spinning your inner elbow creases forwards. And you'll feel this external rotation in the upper arms. And then work to lengthen through your spine. Maybe bending the knees or lifting the heels even to get the hips up and back. And as you do all of that, pull up gently through the lower belly and pull your front ribs towards the back ribs. Last couple of breaths here. You'll shift forwards into plank position. We're not going to stay though. And then push your hips up and back. And as you do that, bring your right hand and tap it to your left ankle. Right hand back down, shift into a plank position. Hips go up and back, left hand to right ankle. And then we continue from side to side. Again, find your own rhythm. We're just working into this kind of dynamic sequence to continue to move through the spine. Also building some strength in the shoulders, the wrists. If you're able to twist a little deeper or further, go for it. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're going to meet in plank pose. And we're going to slowly lower all the way to the belly. From here, take your arms out wide. You're going to spread the fingers. Palms are going to be down onto the mat. So this is going to be a little unusual. It's going to be a little more dynamic than what we would normally do here. So I want you to bend the left knee and you're going to simply roll towards the right. Maybe your right cheek comes down and then tap your left toes back behind you. But we're not going to stay. We're going to come straight back through center and change sides. Bend the right knee, tap it back behind you. And then continue again, going from side to side here. And it might be that you feel your lower back starting to loosen up. I know sometimes when I do this, I get a couple of cracking sounds, but it usually feels really good as I release into my back. Also a nice way to stretch out through the chest. We'll do one more each side. And come all the way back through center. Keep your arms wide, but bend the elbows, come up onto your fingertips. 3 fingertip cobras. Inhale, peel the chest up. Exhale, release back down. 2 more. Inhale, peel up. And release. Last one, inhale. And exhale. Downward facing dog. Take as many steps as you need to walk your feet all the way to the top of the mat. Feet will be hips width distance apart. Now you can either wrap your arms around the backs of your legs. If you're a little more open, you could interlace the fingers behind you. Really try to lengthen your neck here, allowing the head to get super heavy. And just being really careful not to overstretch into your hamstrings or strain the lower back. If the fingers are interlaced, take them the other way, so the other thumb is on top. Probably will feel a little different. And then release your arms. Pull the navel back towards the spine, bend the knees a little bit more, and begin to roll yourself all the way up to standing. And at the top, we'll roll the shoulders back and down. And gather your hands into prayer and allow your eyes to close. Perhaps setting an intention for your practice here today. Inhale deeply. Open mouth, exhale. Release your arms and allow the eyes to open. Inhale, reach the arms up. Maybe even look up, stretch. Bend the knees, fold forwards, Uttanasana. Inhale as you lengthen. Think of pulling the chest up a little. Hands down, step the right foot back, lower the back knee down. Inhale, reach your arms up. Bend the elbows, lift the chest, cactus the arms. Breathe here. Don't be afraid to bend into the left knee a little bit deeper. So nice front body opening. Keep some length through the back of the neck. Inhale, reach the arms back up, hands to the floor, step into plank position. We'll hold and breathe here in plank, spreading fingers, pressing the floor away from us, and then pulling the sternum forwards a little bit more. Take another full breath in. Exhale, lower all the way to your belly. Knees could be down as we do that. Inhale, low cobra, peel the chest up. Maybe you want to hover the hands. And release, downward facing dog. If you like, push up to plank. Downward facing dog. Couple of breaths. Lift your right leg. Exhale, knee to nose, step right foot to right thumb, lower the back knee down. Reach the arms up, bend your elbows, cactus the arms, and lift your chest. Feel your right heel squeezing back towards the left knee. Hug your inner thighs towards one another. Inhale, reach your arms back up. Hands to the floor, step the left foot forwards and fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Rise to stand, reach up, big stretch. Hands to prayer. Again, inhale as you reach. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Left foot back, lower the back knee down. One breath. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bend the elbows, lift the chest. Inhale, reach. Hands down, step back, plank, hold. Take another full breath in. Exhale, lower. Maybe it's through chaturanga to your belly. Inhale, cobra. Try to squeeze the hands back towards the hips. And release, down dog. Maybe push up, plank, downward facing dog. Lift the left leg. Exhale, knee to nose. Step the left foot forwards, lower the back knee down. One breath, reach up. Exhale, bend the elbows, lift the chest. Inhale to reach. Hands down, step the right foot forwards and fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Rise to stand, reach up. Hands to prayer. Adding on, reach up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen. Step the right foot back, lower the back knee down. Reach your arms up. This time, interlace your fingers back behind the head, elbows wide, and then spiral your chest towards the ceiling. So you're lengthening through the sides of the neck. You've got that nice little bit of support for the back of the head. But think of lifting your sternum up a little bit more. All that same work continues to happen in the lower body. Inhale, reach the arms back up. Hands down, step to plank. We're going to lower to chaturanga. Inhale, upward facing dog, thighs lift, kneecaps lift. Take it back, downward facing dog. Lift your right leg. Knee to nose, step right foot to right thumb, lower the knee down, reach the arms up, interlace the hands behind the head, try to change up the grip, so other thumb on top, and then again, spiral the chest up. So if you're feeling this all the way into the lower back, lift out of it a little bit more so you don't want to bend as deeply into that front knee, and then think more of lifting your chest. Be somewhere where you can breathe fully and deeply. Inhale, reach the arms back up. Hands to the floor, step the left foot forwards and fold. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. Rise to stand, reach up. Hands to prayer. Last time, reach up and fold. Inhale, lengthen. Left foot back, lower the back knee down. Now you can either repeat what we did, hands behind the head, or interlace the hands back behind you. And again, lifting the chest, slide your fist down the back of the left leg. So a little more stretch into the front of the shoulders, the chest. Inhale, reach back up, hands to the floor. We're gonna step back, lower chaturanga. Inhale, back bend, upward facing dog. Downward facing dog, breathe. Lift the left leg. Exhale, knee to nose, step through, lower the back knee down, reach the arms up. Last time, hands behind the head or interlace the fingers, changing up that grip, and then sliding the fist down the back of the right leg. So I know you're not like actively engaging your core here, but try not to just like push the belly out. You still want to keep it somewhat contained and strong so that you're not just dumping into your pelvis or the flexibility of the hips. Inhale, reach the arms back up. Hands down, step the right foot forwards and fold. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, fold. Rise to stand, reach up. Hands to prayer. So you're gonna set up for a chair pose, as wide or as narrow as you need for your chair. Couple of breaths just to get sorted, bend the knees, start to feel into the legs. And then as and when you're ready, reach the arms up. Now I want you to straighten through the arms, stay vibrant through the fingers, and then hug your upper arms towards the ears. Pull up through the lower belly. Now if you began class lying over a block, feel that block behind your shoulder blades now, and then start to lift from there. So it's like you're coming into a back bend. Keep pulling the hips back and down. Lift the chest a little bit more. Pull the hips down. Lift the chest, full breath in. Exhale, fold. Inhale to lengthen. Step the left foot back. Left hand stays down, reach the right arm up. Now if you like, you could always place a block underneath this left hand. Hug the outer right hip in. Power up through that back leg so it's not floppy, right? You're really engaging through the quads there, pressing back through the left heel. Feel free to stay here, or you could reach the right arm forwards or even take a half bind. Look towards your right foot. You're going to heel toe that foot halfway down the mat, spin onto the blade edge of the left foot. You could reach the right arm back up. Feel free to stay here or step right foot on top of left, Vashisthasana. Try to find some length from your left hip to your left underarm. Press the floor away from you. Careful if you're hyperextending through that left arm. Last full breath in. Exhale, right hand down, take it through your vinyasa. Remember, you can always skip out these vinyasas if you need. Downward facing dog. So just noticing what's starting to change. A little bit more heat in the body now. Lift the left leg. Exhale, knee to nose, step left foot to left thumb. We're into our easy twist. Reach the left arm up. Pull the left hip back and down. Power up through that back leg. Maybe reach the left arm forwards, or maybe you're working into the half bind. Look towards your right hand. You're going to heel toe the left foot back down halfway the mat and come onto the blade edge of the left foot. Reach the left arm up. Stay here, or if you like, hop the left foot on top of the right, Vashisthasana. Lift that bottom hip away from the floor. Lengthen from your right underarm to your right hip. Last full breath in. Exhale, release, Vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Inhale, shift forwards to plank position. Side plank, blade edge of left foot. Now you could pivot the feet and keep them staggered, or right foot on top of left, reach the right arm up. Begin to hover your right leg. We'll take a huge step to the top of the mat, so right foot steps all the way out. We're coming into our high lunge position. So you want to make sure your feet are wide enough that you can draw this right hip back, the left hip forwards. And you might begin with a little bend in the back knee to set the hips and pelvis, but don't be afraid then to drive the left heel back and start to stretch through the front of the left hip. From here, you're going to bring your elbows together so that the forearms face towards you. You're going to spread your fingers and pull your hands away from one another so it looks like this, right? It's not the most natural of positions, and you'll probably notice pretty quickly that it's challenging. And then try to lift the elbows up. So we're working into the external rotators of the shoulders. And then try to find some sort of softness in the breath. You'll bring your hands to prayer, take the elbows wide. Now hook the left elbow over the right thigh. If you need, lower the back knee down. You can always manually adjust yourself if you want to get a little deeper into that twist. You can always look at the floor here if the balance is feeling a little off for you today. If you are starting to turn the gaze, just make sure you're not throwing the head back, right? So think about lengthening through the neck. And you're rolling the right shoulder back and down. There's this essence of cobra in the upper back. And then pull your inner thighs towards one another. Hands to the floor, standing splits. You're going to fold over your right leg. Now you could use blocks underneath your hands here if you need. If you need to bend the right knee, go for it, but try to keep your right heel down. From here, you'll bend your top knee. You're going to open up through the hip and take some circles in one direction. So this is just like we would do in downward facing dog sometimes. You can take those circles back in the opposite direction. From here, we're going to square off the hips. So re-extend the left leg, and then you want to wrap the outer left hip down. So if you're not sure that you're squaring off the hips, all 5 of the left toes should start to face the floor. Think of lifting the chest up, maybe use blocks underneath the hands. You're in a modified warrior 3. Stay here or bring your hands into prayer and find the balance. Extend through the crown of the head. So we're going to do this 5 times. You're going to tap your left toes to the inside of the right foot, squeeze your butt and kick the left leg back. For 4, 3, working the glutes, 2, last 1, kick it back, and then left leg crosses behind the right, fold. Again, bending knees if you need, hands maybe on blocks. And then try to pull the feet away from one another as you stretch through the outer hips. Press down into your feet. Inhale, rise to stand. The legs are still crossed. Right fingers around the left wrist. Inhale to lengthen. We're going to side bend to the right. Wrap your right underarm forwards. Maybe even just turn your gaze towards the floor. And then inhale, lift all the way back up. Release your arms, unwind your legs, Tadasana. Back to chair pose, sit low, reach the arms up. And again, we're gonna try to find that little back bend. So lift the chest, pull up through the lower belly. Squeeze your arms towards your ears. Maybe even start to lift the gaze. Remember where that block was at the beginning of practice. Take another full breath in. Exhale, fold. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, step or float back through a vinyasa. Downward facing dog. Breathe. The benefit of practicing along with you is a lot of the time these cues are a good reminder for myself. We'll shift into plank position. Side plank. So you can either stagger the feet, you could have the side plank like we did at the beginning, or you're stepping left foot on top of right, reaching the left arm up. Try not to let this top hip roll open, right? So we're trying to keep the left hip really stacked. You'll find that this is probably a little bit harder if you do it this way. Begin to hover the left leg. Take a huge step, left foot to the top of the mat, crescent lunge, come on up. And take a couple of breaths here to refine your pose. Widen the stance if you need. Like I said, maybe bend that knee, get everything sorted through the midline. And then if it feels okay, start to drive that right heel back and stretch into the front of the right hip. Bend the elbows, forearms in front of you, squeeze the elbows together, spread the fingers and take the hands away from one another. And then any amount, start to lift the elbows up. And I know it's hard because this pose is kind of really challenging, but don't be too hard on yourself here, right? It's not gonna be a dramatic shape. It doesn't look like a huge back bend. It doesn't look like you're doing all that much work, but I know how much effort this takes. And then hands into prayer, take the elbows wide. You'll cross and twist the body, right elbow over left thigh. If you need, lower that back knee down. So the hips are somewhat stable here. And then you're finding the movement in your upper back. Strong through the legs, strong through the lower body. Hands to the floor, standing splits. So lift the right leg up. So go ahead and bend that left knee if the hamstrings are tight, but try to keep the left heel down. And then you can bend the top knee, open up through the hips. So it's almost like your torso will start to spin a little towards the right as well. You can circle out through the hips a couple of times. And circle them back in the other direction. Try to hug your outer left hip in so it's not just swinging out to the left. And then you're going to re-extend the right leg. All 5 of the right toes face down, so maybe have a little look-see. Make sure they're doing what you think they're doing. Lift up onto the fingertips, maybe using blocks here. Lift your chest. Stay here, or full warrior 3. Hands can come into prayer. 5 times, we tap right toes to the inside of the left leg. Extend it back. 4, 4. Squeeze your butt. 3, 2, And 1. Right leg behind left, fold. Whew. Yes, this forward fold is definitely needed after all of that. The glutes have been working for you. Try to pull the feet away. Can you get your feet, you know, fully kind of planted down onto the mat so you're not just curling onto the blade edge of both feet? Press into the feet, rise to stand, reach up. Left fingers around the right wrist. Inhale to lengthen. We're going to side bend to the left. Scoop your left underarm forwards. And then inhale, lift all the way back up. Release your arms, unwind your legs, Tadasana. Going through the chair pose again, so bend the knees, lift the arms up. Working into that little back bend. Peel the chest up. This time, if you wish, you're gonna bring the hands together, bend the elbows, keep hugging your upper arms towards the ears, prayer back behind you and start to press your head back into your arms. Inhale, reach the arms back up. Exhale, fold. Inhale to lengthen. Step or float back through your vinyasa. Downward facing dog. So you're gonna lower your knees and chins down to the mat. I'm gonna come into puppy pose. So similar to child's pose, but rather than kind of flexing the spine and being in a forward fold, we're taking it into spinal extension. So you'll keep your hips stacked rather than pulling back, and you're gonna walk the hands forward. So option 1, forehead to the floor. Think of melting the chest down. Option 2, and I'm gonna just remove my mic here to do this, is to bring your chin to the mat. Yeah, so really getting into the upper back. If you're doing this, make sure that you're also trying to actively pull the hands back. Final option, if you want it, is to tuck the toes from here and then lift the knees, straighten the legs. Make sure you're not jamming into your neck. Maybe you just hold for about 3 breaths. You'll walk your hands back in. Downward facing dog is where I'm gonna meet you. And then in this down dog, really think of lengthening through the spine as a nice little counter to that back bend that we were just in. Feel your forearms pulling towards one another, hands pulling towards the feet. Breathing deeply into the left and right sides of the body and lengthening through your neck. Go ahead and inhale through the nose. Open mouth, exhale. Shift into plank position. Side plank, Vashisthasana, blade edge of left foot, left hand. Reach the right arm up. Maybe straight away you want to hover. I'm going to take a huge step to the top of the mat, picking up your prop as you go, coming up into our high lunge position. So you're going to hold the block on its widest level and then reach the arms up overhead. From here, straighten through both legs. So what's gonna happen in this next little drill is that the chest is gonna wanna come forwards, right? And the pelvis is kind of pulling back. So I want you to think of keeping the shoulders stacked on top of the hips and bending your knees more. You'll get an idea of this in a moment. So we're gonna take the block into the right hand. We're gonna bend both knees, specifically that front knee really deeply, passing the block underneath the right thigh. So notice I'm not here, I'm just keeping the chest up. I'll bring it up into the left hand and we straighten through both legs. We'll do 4 more. Nice deep bend. And left. 4, 3, 2, last one. From here, rebend the right knee, squeeze the block between your hands, bend the elbows and bring the block back behind your head. Maybe even press the back of the head into the block. Try to squeeze your right heel towards the back edge of the mat. Don't let the elbows splay out, keep hugging them in. And then straighten through both arms. We're gonna open up a warrior 2, block in the right hand. Straighten through the front leg. Inhale, reach forwards, Trikonasana. Take the block to the outside of the right shin. Reach the left arm up. Then we're trying to find length again through this underside of the body. So the right hip and right shoulder, we're making a little bit of space here. And that left hip might roll forwards a little bit as you do that. From here, you could take the half bind, wrapping the left arm behind you. If you like, reach the right arm forwards. Press into the feet, come all the way back up. Warrior 2, rebend the right knee. You're gonna bend your right elbow and bring it to the inside of the right knee. So I'm spreading my fingers and my fingers facing towards the front of the mat. From here, reach the left arm up. And I'm actively trying to open that right shoulder. So the right arm, the forearm is kind of shifting out. And then I'm hugging my right knee into my right arm. Strong feet, strong legs, come all the way back up, straighten through the front leg and spin the right toes in. Hands to your hips. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, fold. Hands to the floor underneath the face. Lift the chest up halfway. Pull your inner thighs towards one another. Feel the feet hug in. And then keep the left hand down and reach the right arm up. Try to keep your hips stable, like you could balance something on your sacrum. If it doesn't feel okay on the neck to look up, just turn the gaze towards the floor. Right hand to the floor, reach the left arm up. And again, I don't mind if there's a little bit of movement in the hips, but you're not just kind of doing this, right? So there is a difference to that. And part of this all comes down to body awareness. So if you're practicing maybe near a mirror or even a window and you can see your reflection, you can get a lot of good feedback from that. Left hand to the floor. You'll walk your hands to your right foot, spin all 10 toes forwards. You can get rid of that block and step into plank position. Lower down onto your forearms, forearm plank. Press the floor away from you. Try to squeeze the elbows back towards your toes. Now your shoulders stay stacked on top of the elbows. Walk your feet in, lift the hips up, dolphin pose. Don't let your head come down to the mat. Think of spreading the shoulder blades, hollowing out through the underarms and really pressing the floor away from you. Breathe. 3, 2, last one. Walk your feet all the way back, forearm plank, and lower your hips down. So if you like, you can spin the left forearm in a little bit. You're gonna bend the right knee. Take your right hand back behind you. A couple of different ways to do this. You might grab the inside of the foot or the outside of the foot. What we're trying to do here, and this can be done for different reasons, this stretch, we're just trying to stretch out through the front of the right hip and thigh. So find a variation that works for you, that you can feel the stretch in that area. For some of you, you can come into full Urdhva Dhanurasana, spinning the right fingers forwards in line with the toes. Make sure your right shoulder is happy, and then maybe lifting the left forearm. So put your mind into the muscles, trying to get a stretch through the hip flexors, quad on the right side. This is all going to be important for where we're going, which if you've got any experience at all, which I know all of you do, you know we're probably heading towards a deep back bend. And release that right leg, come all the way down. So we're gonna come into cobra or upward facing dog. I'm gonna pick the hips up. We're gonna hold here. So if you're in up dog, you're actively pulling the hands back. The chest is pulling forwards, and only then, if you can maintain this depth in the back bend, maybe you start to lift the head, stretch out through the front of the neck, and downward facing dog. Last time through. Shift into plank. Vashisthasana, blade edge of right foot, right hand, reach the left arm up. Maybe you're hovering the leg. It's going to be a giant step, a left foot all the way to the top of the mat. You're going to find your block and bring it with you. So lift it up overhead, straighten through both legs. So again, we're keeping shoulders stacked on the hips, not doing this, right? But this time we're gonna take the block in the left hand. So bend the knees deeply, thread the block underneath your left thigh, and reach back up. 4, 4. 3, and obviously just do your best. If there's a little bit of movement, it's all good. 2, last one. And then rebend both knees. Oh, sorry, the left knee. And then squeeze the block. Bend your elbows, block comes behind the head. Hug your elbows in towards the ears. Maybe your head into the back of the block. Reach the block back up overhead. Block in the left hand, open up a warrior 2. Straighten through the left leg. Trikonasana, reach forwards. Block to the outside of the left leg. Reach the right arm up. So sort out your legs and pelvis first. Driving the tailbone down towards the right heel. From here, maybe adding in the half bind. Maybe reaching the left arm forwards. And lift all the way up, warrior 2, rebend the front knee. I'm gonna bend the left elbow. It comes to the inside of the left knee. I'm spreading my fingers, and it's like I wanted to move my arm out that way, but my knee's there and it's not gonna let it, right? And then reach the right arm up. Press into the feet, come all the way up, warrior 2. Straighten through the front leg, spin the left toes in. Interlace the hands back behind you. You could always use a strap if you need, or you can hold opposite elbows. Lift the chest up, exhale, fold. Try to shift the weight a little further forward so that the hips aren't just pulling back. Little soft bend in the elbows if you're hyperextending, and then squeeze the heels of your palms all the way together. Now if you're interlacing your fingers, you're going to change that interlace to the awkward grip. Balance things out. And then hands underneath the face, lift up halfway. Walk your hands to your left foot, spin all 10 toes to the front. We're going to step back into plank position and lower onto our forearms. Shoulders stay on top of the elbows. Lift up through the belly and then walk your feet in. Your knees can be bent here. I know my dolphin's pretty deep, so don't feel like it has to look exactly like mine. But you're working to build your upper body strength as you keep the head lifted. Feel the shoulder blades spread. Walk your feet back to forearm plank and lower your hips down. So again, we're going to come into Urdhva Dhanurasana, so you can spin the right arm in a little bit. Bend the left knee. You could take outside, inside of the foot, or maybe you're spinning the left fingers in the same direction as the toes. Make sure this left shoulder is happy. And then if you like, lift the right forearm. And release. So you'll find again either cobra or upward facing dog. Really work your back bend. Squeeze your butt a little. Firm up the thighs. Pull the chest forwards. Last breath in. Exhale, downward facing dog. Take an inhale through your nose. Open mouth, exhale. We're going to meet on our backs. So either knees down, shins down, sit down, lie down, or if you like, jump through. And we'll come down onto our backs. Just take a breath or two wherever you are. So you'll have your feet hips width distance apart, knees are bent, arms down alongside you, setting up for bridge pose like we did at the top of practice. So press the lower back into the mat, and as you do this, you'll feel the tailbone curl towards the backs of your knees. Now try to keep that action as you drive down through your feet to lift the hips up. And then if you like, you could wriggle the shoulder blades closer together and interlace your fingers. So our lower body should be working for us a lot here in our back bends. Squeeze of the butt, hug the inner thighs in, and then imagine you could drag your heels to your shoulders. And as we do all of this, getting a nice big stretch through the front of the body. Make space between the chin and the chest. And lower all the way down. So in a moment, we're going to work towards wheel. You know, there are so many different ways that you can work into wheel. You could obviously go to the wall. You could set yourself up with props. And I'm a big fan of all of those things. And you know, sometimes, particularly if you're maybe doing more of like a Hatha class, you know, you have time and space to set yourself up at the wall and that kind of thing. For the purposes of this being a flow class, we're not going to use the wall, but that's not to say that you still can't attempt this, even if it's not yet part of your practice, right? So go slow. I'm going to guide you along the way. We've well and truly prepped the shoulders. The glutes are working for us, and maybe you'll start to surprise yourself a little bit. So we're going to do everything the same in the lower body, finding that posterior tilt. So tailbone towards the backs of the knees. Reach your arms up overhead. You're going to bend the elbows and bring your hands alongside your ears. So your fingers are facing pretty much towards your shoulders. They're spreading down. And then rather than allowing the elbows to kind of splay out like this, just squeeze them in a little bit like we've been doing. Right? From here, you're either going to just stay and lift the hips. That's totally fine. That's going to be enough for you. Some of you, you're going to come onto the crown of the head. Right? Now, very little pressure through the head, very little pressure through the neck. Either stay here, or maybe you straighten the arms a little bit, and then you're going to lower back down onto the crown of the head. Keep pulling the elbows in. And then again, straighten the arms a little bit, bend the elbows, hug them in, lower back onto the head. So whatever variation you're in, you're just starting to familiarize yourself with this pose. And we're going to lower all the way back down. Take a couple of breaths. So one of the things that we forget a lot about with wheel, Urdhva Dhanurasana, is we look at the back bend and we go, wow, that person's really flexible. And yes, they might be. That might be what's helping them up. But I also know a lot of people who don't have a deep back bend or have had to work really hard for their back bend, but they have good upper body strength with their shoulders in flexion, right? So when the arms come overhead. So if you kind of feel like you have a back bend, but the part of pushing up is holding you back, then that's telling you that you need to work on that component of the pose. It's not the back bend anymore, right? It's the strength of pushing yourself up. And that's why I like these little wheel push-ups. You know, there's a whole lot of things that you can do. So rather than just saying, I can't do this, I'm bad at back bends, it's like, well, is it the back bend? Maybe it is. Maybe you've got strength, but not the flexibility. So just being a little bit more intentional about what it is that you need to work on. So we have one more round. If you're like, hell no, Jess, I'm tired, block underneath the sacrum, extend the legs, supported bridge. You could also do bridge. Maybe the hands are behind you and you're just lifting the hips. Maybe you're starting to feel what it would take to lift and bring the head onto the floor. Some of you full wheel. If you like those little wheel taps, head taps, always good to continue to build strength. And we're going to come all the way back down. From here, hug your knees into your chest. Give them a nice squeeze, maybe a little rock from side to side. We're going to take a supine pigeon. So if you have a more advanced variation that you want to go into, feel free. Otherwise, left foot down on the floor, right ankle over left thigh. You're going to press that leg away from you. Either stay here or you could interlace your hands behind your left thigh and hug the right shin in. Back of the head and the hips stay down. Stay longer if you have more time available to you. Otherwise, simply changing sides. And I know sometimes in these practices we don't have as long to really fully cool down, and we do enough. But if you want to spend some extra time stretching and enjoying that kind of more even restorative part of the practice, then check out the stretch classes I have on the site. There's 2 there already, some more to come. You could always just, do one of those classes at the end of this practice. Otherwise, if you're ready to complete the practice, hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself one last big squeeze here. And then extend the legs out, arms down alongside you for Shavasana. Letting go of your breath and relaxing. And this is where I'm going to leave you guys. Thank you so much for practicing along with me. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Otherwise, namaste.